What is going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. And today, we are going to be making another video, sort of like a tier list style video, but we're not using, obviously, a tier list maker. We're just going to be looking at the game, and I'm going to be giving you my opinions on what I believe are the 10 best ships right now in One Piece Treasure Cruise. Now, the whole reason why I'm making this video is because I actually did upload a video very similar to this, but it was such a long time ago. Like, I'm talking about like pretty much a year ago now that I uploaded a video talking about my opinion on the best ships in the game. So it's been severely outdated, so I definitely need to make a follow-up to that, which is why we're here. So let's go ahead and jump over to the crew menu and click on Shipyard, and I'll give you guys just a rundown of what I believe are the 10 best ships in the game. So first of all, the first ship that we're going to talk about as my number 10 position is the Dreadnought Saber. Now, this could be almost considered as like an honorable mention, but the main thing as to why this ship is so good, even though you could see you don't get a single attack boost from this ship, the main reason why is because it has the 5,000 end of turn damage, which means that you can use this ship to bypass resilience buffs. And, you know, you may think, oh, you know, just use like Kaido, or just use an end of turn damage dealer, or poison, or whatever, or just bring a resilience remover. But I can't tell you how many times that, you know, it's just better to run like other units on your team and then just run this ship instead. Now, in terms of how do you actually get this ship, unfortunately, you cannot get this ship right now on Global. There will be an update that will come out later on where you can get this ship, and I think it actually might be upgraded when it comes back, but I'm not too sure. But currently you cannot obtain this ship right now, but as I said, in the future you will be able to obtain it. But this ship is just really nice for getting through resilience, and you know, despite the fact that you don't have an attack boost, depending on your captain that you're using, you know, sometimes you don't even need the ship's attack boost in order to get through the content, which is nice. So in my opinion, the Dreadnought Saber is the number 10 position on my list. Moving on to number 9, we have the Coded Vessel Thousand Sunny. So you obtain this ship by, I believe, completing the Redux Saba Odi Archipelago story mode, and it's a pretty simple ship, just a simple 1.5 attack boost, and it also will give you the ability of halving damage taken for one turn on a 16 turn cooldown, which I will admit is relatively steep. 16 turns is quite a lot, but sometimes that little bit of damage reduction that you just have is going to be, you know, the difference between you clearing content and you losing. This has happened up a couple of times where I've used this ship just because of the damage reduction that it can provide. You know, potentially you'll be on a mini boss stage and, you know, maybe they do a little bit of death damage, and having the ability to just block that in a ship special is really good. Now, it is only 50% damage reduction, which isn't godly, but you know, if you stack this on top of other damage reducing effects like from other captains or from your sockets or from potential abilities, this will actually add up a lot of damage reduction for your team. So I think currently, yeah, this is probably my number 9 position in the best ships of One Piece Treasure Cruise. And now my number 8 position is going to be the Merry-Go. The Merry-Go, funnily enough, you know, obviously being like one of the early ships that you get in the game by completing Syrup Village, and there was an update that came out, I'd say, you know, maybe like a year ago or something, where this ship was updated to make it so that perfects are easier to hit. So by doing that, it just makes it so that, you know, if you're running a captain that relies on hitting perfects, such as like Legend Smoker or V2 Sakazuki, sometimes it can be just a little bit annoying to use those captains. So if you just have some sort of ability to hit perfects a lot easier on just a generic ship like this, it's quite nice. The 300 additional HP to the captain doesn't really mean too much, honestly, but it's just kind of there. And you know, sometimes you'll be up against content where they make perfects more difficult to hit. Like I remember when Colosseum Kizaru came out, a lot of people were struggling with that, and a lot of people would just opt to use this ship instead because it allowed your perfects to be hit a lot easier. And you know, if you don't hit your perfects, you basically don't clear that stage. So it's very important that you do so. So this ship was kind of nice for content like that. And for such an early ship, it's actually really good. So if you are new to the game, you definitely want to be maxing out this ship first, just because it's a generic ship. You can use it with anyone that you want, and make perfects easier to hit is always going to be a really useful effect to have. So that's my number 8 position. So moving on to number 7 is going to be the Victoria Punk, which is only accessible from clearing the Magnetic Training Forest, or the Kid Training Forest. This ship is actually really good. When you read its effect, you kind of wonder like that this actual effect is on an actual ship. So you get 20% health boost. It makes tandem slots appear more often, which is quite good. And it does rely on your captain being a strength character or a dex character. So that's a little bit of a condition you have to fulfill. But then it says it boosts your crew's attack by 1.65 times if they have a tandem, a Wano slot, or a bomb, or a super bomb slot. So quite obviously this was meant to be used with Legend Kid as well as Luffy and Zoro. But the thing about it is we now have another character that really likes to utilize Wano slots, which is Kozuki Oden. And the fact that Kozuki Oden makes all tandem slots become into Wano, and then you have a ship now that can increase the chances of those Wano slots appearing is very powerful. And especially because obviously Oden is a strength character, which fulfills the condition for the ship. And not only that, this ship also has a special ability that just removes all enemy barriers by one turn. So there's just lots of things to like about this ship. I wouldn't rank it that much higher because like Legend Kid, Luffy, Zoro, and even, you know, Kozuki Oden, for example, they're not like the go-to captains. You know, if this ship was helping out, you know, one of those really god tier captains, then this ship would be much higher. But currently as it stands, like those ones that I mentioned are not really the go-to captains. I mean, like still one thing that you could do right is like, you know, your captain doesn't have to be Oden. You could use an Oden friend captain and still use like Bullet as your captain, right? Because Bullet is still strength and it still makes tandem slots appear more often. So if your friend captain is going to be Kozuki Oden, you can still build some really cool things here, you know? But this is going to be my number 7 position, being the Victoria Punk. So now moving on to my number 6 position is the Moby Dick, and this ship is very easy to get. You have to clear the Whitebeard training forest, which is not difficult in 2021, that's for damn sure. The Whitebeard ship is just a really, really powerful ship, even just considering the age of this ship. It's aged incredibly. The fact that you start off with only 50% of your crew's max HP, which you would think is bad, but depending on the captain that you're using, you know, that could actually be a really good thing. But the really cool thing about it is that it's a generic ship. You can use anyone with it. It's a 1.5 rainbow attack boost, and then the really cool thing is that you get a 1.4 health boost. So for a ship to give you 1.5 attack and 1.4 health, like, that is absurdly powerful. And the fact that, yeah, you start off with 50% of your max HP, which does kind of suck, but as long as you got some sort of healing capabilities, you can get that back no problem, and you just get 40% additional HP for free with this ship. So this is like the best ship to run on high difficulty content, because typically if you're running like a really difficult Garp challenge, like Garp will either heal you at the start, or like you've got lots of time to recover your health back before you get to really difficult stages like on training forests. So this is definitely like the best ship to run for those high difficulty pieces of content. Really, really good. So definitely Moby Dick, one of the best ships in the game. So now moving on to my number 5 position is going to be the Shark Superb. Now this ship is great because it gives you a huge boost. It is a 2 times attack boosting ship as long as your captain is strength, dex, or quick, which is not a very difficult condition to fulfill, and it gives you -1 cooldown. Perfect's easier to hit. However, there is a huge caveat, which is that your attack is going to be reduced, or the ship's attack will be reduced by a very small margin each turn for 10 turns. So it ends up starting at a 2 times boost, but it actually goes down to a 1.3 boost after 10 turns. So that's quite bad. But in short form content, this ship is amazing, because the fact that, you know, if you clear content really quickly, you know, you can get to a final boss stage and have like a 1.8 or a 1.7 times multiplier ship. For that piece of content, this ship is going to be insane. And namely, you know, Kizuna Clash is where this ship is going to shine. But of course, there is that condition. Remember, your captain has to be strength, dex, or quick. So you cannot run any of the really powerful Psi or Int characters. But luckily, there's another really good ship that we're going to be talking about a little bit later on that is perfect for Psi and Int characters, so you don't need to worry about that. But I do think that the Shark Superb is a really powerful ship in One Piece Treasure Cruise. And now my number 4 position is the Zunisha ship. I really, really do like this ship as well. And I remember when it first came out, everyone lost their minds at how broken this ship was. Especially because when it did release, Powerhouse and Cerebral were 2 of the best classes in the game. Still, as it currently stands, Powerhouse are a little weaker in comparison. And Cerebral are still pretty good. I still think like Free Spirit are probably the best class right now, just because like Roger and Odin, plus all the other shenanigans that have come out recently. It's just way too good. But anyways, this ship boosts those 2 classes in Powerhouse and Cerebral by giving them a 1.55 boost, and then also giving them a health boost of 25%, makes their recovery and tandem slots count as matching, and also makes perfects much easier to hit. And when it says much easier, it truly does mean much easier. You are going to be hitting your perfects left and right, and a lot of people like do concede that after using the Zunisha ship for such an extended period of time, when you switch from Zunisha to another ship, sometimes you actually kind of struggle to hit your perfects because you're so used to the ship helping you out with that. So that is something to note about this ship. But just across the board, if you're running a Cerebral or Powerhouse team, you are likely going to be using this ship because it is just insanely good. But again, there's going to be another ship we're going to be talking about just a little bit, and it's also really good if your captain is cerebral, which we'll get to that. Anyways, let's move on to the number 3. So my number 3 ship in the game is going to be Megalo. So Megalo is what I was talking about just a little earlier, talking about, you know, we have a really good ship for Strength X Quick. Do we have one for Sign Int? And this is that ship right here. You get a 1.25 HP boost, and then if your captain is either Int or Psi, you get a 1.5 attack boost. Your captain also gets a 200 recovery boost, which may come into play, especially if your captain's got like pinch healing, you know, that adds to that, which is very useful. And then also gives you 10% damage reduction. So this ship gives you a health boost and damage reduction, and also gives you the 1.5 attack boost. And then, you know, a little bit of recovery there. So defensive wise, this is one of the best ships, and it has a really good special, 8 turn cooldown special, which simply states lock all your orbs for 1 turn. That is insane. Being able to just conserve all of your slots. Now, you know, obviously it's used for Sign Int teams, so, you know, if you're running like Gold Roger, it doesn't really matter running this ship too much. I mean, the damage reduction and the health boost is nice, but the ship special is essentially useless in that case using Roger, because Roger's super type already does that. But still, it's a fantastic ship if you're running someone like, you know, V3 Boa Hancock or V3 Law. Those two characters absolutely adore this ship, or like Super Type Blackbeard or Super Type Katakuri, or whenever the Halloween stuff comes out, you know, Halloween Law, Halloween Mihawk, Halloween Shanks, all of those characters are Int, so they can definitely abuse this ship. Big Mom Kaido, because like, the Big Mom version of that character is an Int character, so yeah, there's actually a lot of really cool applications for this ship moving forward, man. That's actually really good. I love this ship. This ship is really good. I've used it a lot. I use it still to this day in high difficulty content for the damage reduction and the special that it has. Just across the board, a really powerful ship. And then right next to that, we have the Host ship, which is my number 2 position. Now, the Host ship, I think generically speaking here, if you are new to the game, or if you're like a mid-level player, you probably want to have this ship, and for you, I would say this is the best ship in the game. But if you're at that point where you're starting to reach the end game content and you want to have all the advantages you could possibly get, then in my opinion, this is not the ship to go for, but it does depend on what type of team you are building. But the really good thing about this ship is it's a rainbow ship. There's no restrictions as to what characters you can or can't bring, or what your captain has to be. It's just a generic ship, -1 cooldown for all characters, 1.5 attack, and giving you 1.75 times Pirate EXP, being able to level up much quicker, and then having a really nice special ability on a 15 turn cooldown to give you 3500 heal for 2 turns. Really good. So, like, just everything about this ship is fantastic. Like, there's no negatives to running the ship at all, just because it is generic, and there's nothing bad about the ship at all. But it's just that, in my opinion, there are better ships in the game. So this is my number 2 position right now. I still think this is one of the best ships in the game. But for my number 1 position, I've got 2 ships there, because I really couldn't split them because they're so similar. And those 2 ships are the ones right down the back here, the Oro Jackson and the Liberal Hind. Now, a lot of people have asked me, you know, should I purchase the Liberal Hind or should I purchase the Oro Jackson? Now, the way that I look at it, right, is that if we're just talking about, like, in the best case scenario, in my opinion, the Oro Jackson is a better ship. In my opinion, there's so much going on here. Let's have a look. -1 cooldown, 1.6 times attack to Free Spirit and Slasher, 1.3 health, recovery and tandem matching, perfect's easier to hit, and 1000 HP recovered at the end of the turn, and having a 9 turn cooldown special to resist 2 turns of paralysis. Hello? Across the board, this is the best ship in the game. But the big downside to this ship is that the attack boost only works for Free Spirit and Slasher characters. That is the only bad thing about this ship. Now, like, even though that you may think that, yeah, that is a downside, but also on the other side of that coin, it doesn't really matter too much, because Free Spirit and Slashers are really good right now, because obviously we've got Roger, we've got Odin, they're all really powerful units. And I completely understand that, but if you think about how many different teams can really abuse this ship, there's really not that many good teams you could really build with this ship. Like, you have to have very specific units in order to use this ship. But when you do have that situation going for you, yes, it is actually amazing, right? Now, the other side to this argument is the Liberal Hind, which in my opinion is the more worthwhile ship, and the main reason for that is because it is very similar to the Oro Jackson in a couple of different ways. But the main thing about it is the condition for you to get your attack boost is a lot easier, because your captain has to be either Free Spirit, Slasher, or Cerebral. So as long as your captain has one of those 3 classes, all your characters get the boost. So that makes it a lot easier to build with. And then it also gives you -1 cooldown, Captain's Recovery is boosted by 500, and then you also get the attack boost. But then, if you've got a full team of Psy characters, you get an additional 1.1 times boost, which totals up to a 1.76 times boosting ship. In that situation there, it's hard to compete with that. A 1.76 times boosting ship, you have additional recovery, you have the 1000 heal per turn as well. There's a lot of things here that are just so good, and it's a lot easier to fulfill and build with compared to the Aura Jackson. So in my opinion, I think the Liberal Hind will see much more play because you can use it on many more teams. But in the situation that is right, and if you have the right team, the Aura Jackson, technically speaking, is the better ship. I think it is the best ship in the game, but it's just too hard to use on a lot of different teams. And in a lot of situations, you'll probably just want to use this instead, but it does depend on the content, because if the content has paralysis, you'd much rather use this ship. But if you don't care about that, you'd probably just want to use this because it gives you the minus cooldown with its special. It minuses the cooldowns of your Psy characters. What's the cooldown on that one? Yeah, 10 turn cooldown to give you minus cooldown to your Psy characters. That's really useful to have. Less stalling, make sure you clear content a lot faster. And as we've already established, both of which give you 1000 heal at the end of the turn, both of which have a -1 cooldown at the start of the fight, both of which are 1.6 times attack boosting ships, but the Liberal Hind can get higher attack. But of course, the Liberal Hind does not have what the Aura Jackson has in terms of recovery in tandem, counted as matching, and also 1.3 health boost, which is a lot actually. A 1.3 health boost from a ship is very, very useful. So there's pros and cons to both. It's just Goldie Rogers' ship, Aura Jackson, is a little bit difficult to build with, whereas the Liberal Hind is much easier to build with, but you don't get as many good effects. But across the board, in my opinion, these are the two best ships in the game as of right now, as of recording this video today. So hopefully this helped you guys out in deciding, which ships you may want to purchase from the unlockable quests. As I did mention though, if you're more of a beginner or a mid-game player, this is the main ship you want to be purchasing first, because it's going to help you level up a lot quicker, in turn giving you more stamina, in turn allowing you to farm more content, maxing out more characters. This is the ship you want to be purchasing. However, if you're more of an endgame player, then the Liberal Hind and the Aura Jackson are definitely ships you need to purchase in order to make your team building a lot better and having more success in clearing content. But that's going to wrap up this video today. I really hope you guys enjoyed this one, and if you guys did enjoy it, make sure you go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content that I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. But on that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.